Okay, so we've all been told this at some point, right? Just be yourself. But what if that's the very advice that's holding you back? Today, we're going to tear down this idea of being a natural and show you that social success, it's not some gift you're born with. It's a skill, and it's a skill that you can absolutely learn, starting right now. And the source material just comes right out of the gate with this zinger. I mean, think about it. If your strategy of being yourself always ends in rejection, well, that's not a very good strategy, is it? It's a recipe for feeling awful. This isn't about being fake, it's about upgrading the tools you're working with. And this analogy just perfectly captures the whole problem. You would never, ever tell a non-swimmer to just go out into the ocean and feel the vibe. Of course not. They need lessons, they need technique, they need to practice. Without the actual skill of swimming, they're gonna sink. And honestly, social situations aren't all that different. So let's talk about this be yourself trap. Why is it so dangerous? Well, because it tricks you into thinking you shouldn't have to learn anything. It makes you passive. You end up stuck, wondering why nothing works, and blaming everything around you instead of the one thing you actually have control over, your skill set. And this is the most important clarification. Nobody is saying you should become a different person. The goal is to become a more skilled version of yourself. You're still you, just you with better software. Think of it like adding powerful new apps to your phone. It just makes you way more effective. Which brings us to the core central idea of this whole explainer. Socializing is not magic. It's not some talent you either have or you don't. It is a skill. And just like any other skill, it can be broken down, it can be practiced, and it can be mastered. I mean, just look at this list. Was anyone born a world-class coder or a master salesperson or a concert pianist? No, of course not. We all get that these things take years of dedicated practice and learning from a structured system. So why would social competence be any different? It can be deconstructed and learned step by step. So if it's a skill, how do you learn it? Well, it turns out there's a pretty predictable roadmap that everyone follows when they learn anything new. It's called the 4 Stages of Competence. And understanding this is going to be huge for keeping you on track and not getting discouraged. Every single one of us starts at stage 1 and has to move through to stage 4. It doesn't matter if you're learning to drive a car, learning to cook, or learning to be better socially. You start out clueless and you end up with a skill that feels totally automatic. So let's break down what each of these stages feels like. So, stage 1, unconscious incompetence. We've all been here. This is when you're just not getting the results you want, but you genuinely have no idea why. You're just bad at it, and you can't see the reason. It's so easy to blame things outside your control, your looks, your luck, whatever, because you're not even aware that there are specific skills you're missing. Then you move into stage 2, conscious incompetence. And honestly, this is the toughest part. This is where you start to learn, and suddenly you see all of your mistakes, sometimes right as you're making them. You have that moment where you walk away and think, I know exactly what I should have said. It's incredibly frustrating, but that awareness, that's a massive sign of progress. And then comes stage 3, conscious competence. This is where you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're actually doing the right things, but it takes a ton of mental effort. You're actively thinking about your body language, what you're going to say next. It can feel a little bit clunky, maybe even robotic, but guess what? It's working. This is you, in real time, building that new skill. And finally, you arrive at stage 4, unconscious competence. After enough reps, enough practice, the skill just sinks in. It becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it anymore, you just do it. It feels totally effortless, smooth, intuitive. And that's the goal, right? To have the skills so deeply ingrained that it just becomes part of who you are. It feels natural. But wait, even when you get to that final stage, there's a really important distinction we need to make, because not all unconscious competence is the same. There's a world of difference between being a natural and being a true master. Okay, let's break this down because it's so important. The natural is the person who's just good at it. But if you ask them how they do it, they'll just shrug and say, I don't know, I just talk to people. They can't teach it because they don't actually understand the system they're running. A true master, on the other hand, understands the principles. They can tell you why something works. And here's the other big difference. The natural skill is usually fragile. It works in their hometown with their friends, but you drop them in a new city and suddenly they fall apart. The master, they can adapt. They understand the fundamentals so they can get results anywhere with anyone because they built their success on purpose. So the real question is, how do you become that true master? Not the natural who got lucky, but the person who can get results consistently. Well, you need a system. You need a process that can guide you through those 4 stages and build a skill that actually lasts. And that system is beautifully simple. It's called the learning loop: knowledge, action, and feedback. This 3-step cycle is pretty much the engine for mastering any skill you can think of. You learn the right stuff, you go out and do it, and then you figure out what happened. It's a constant cycle of improvement. So step 1 is knowledge, and the quality here is everything. The source material is really clear about this. Avoid that recycled, vague advice you see everywhere. You need a proven, structured system from someone who's a true master, someone who can actually explain the principles, not just a natural who can't tell you how they do what they do. Step 2 is action, because all the knowledge in the world is useless if you don't do anything with it. You can't learn to swim by reading a book, you have to get in the water. The great news is that you can practice this everywhere. Ordering your morning coffee, a quick chat with a coworker, every single interaction is a low-stakes chance to practice and get a little bit better. And that brings us to the final and maybe most critical piece of the loop: feedback. If you take action without getting feedback, you're just spinning your wheels. You have to review what happened. You can do that by journaling, just asking yourself, what went well? What would I do differently next time? You can ask a trusted friend, but you have to tell them, look, I need you to be brutally honest with me. And of course, getting an experienced coach is like a cheat code because they can see the blind spots you can't even imagine you have. And when you start running this loop, knowledge, action, feedback, over and over again, something incredible happens. You stop hoping for good interactions, and you start creating them. You're taking luck and guesswork completely out of the equation. Ultimately, this is the balance you're aiming for. On one side, you have all plan. That's the person who's so stuck in their head, running through techniques, that they come across as robotic and disconnected. On the other side, you have all presence, just vibing with no direction, which is often aimless and ineffective. The goal is that sweet spot right in the middle, a solid foundation of skill that allows you to be present, spontaneous, and free in the moment. So here's the bottom line: true social freedom, that feeling of being natural, doesn't come from luck. It comes from taking control. It's about systematically replacing hope and guesswork with real, undeniable competence that you built yourself. And that's the big idea we want to leave you with today. If social interaction is a learnable skill, what else is? How many other things in our lives that we write off as natural talent are actually just skills that we haven't decided to master yet? Something to think about.